welcome to the deep dive. You've brought us some really interesting material this time, focusing on that feeling, that so many people experience, just being completely overwhelmed, especially with like juggling home, work, family, all of it.
Yeah, it's everywhere, isn't it? And this term, depleted mother syndrome, it's popping up online a lot. That Cleveland Clinic article you mentioned gets into it. Well, it's not an official medical thing, but boy, does it describe how a lot of people feel.
Absolutely. Depleted mother syndrome. I mean, the name alone, right?
Eh.
It hits home.
Mm-hmm.
And the article makes a good point while it says, mother, this deep physical and mental exhaustion, the constant worry, the guilt, feeling totally underwater, that can hit any caregiver.
Exactly. Anyone juggling those roles.
So for this deep dive, the plan is to sort of unpack this whole idea using what the Cleveland Clinic says. We'll look at the symptoms they describe and, importantly, get into some real practical ways to manage it based on their expert advice.
Okay, sounds good. Let's get into it. One thing the article brings up, which I found interesting, is why this might hit women particularly hard, though. Again, not only women. Dr. Sullivan mentions women often process daily decisions differently, mixing emotional factors with the facts more heavily.
Oh, that's a key point. She contrasts it with men, suggesting they might lean more on just the facts. Whereas women bring in that emotional layer for like tons of daily choices. You can see how that adds up to a bigger mental load, right?
Definitely. It's an extra layer of process.
Yeah.
And then you pile on everything else the article mentions, trying to succeed at work, being the main person, looking after kids or family, coordinating everything, keeping the house running.
Yeah.
It just compounds. It becomes this relentless cycle.
And the article really stresses the mental load itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not just doing the tasks, but holding that massive checklist in your head. Appointments, groceries, school stuff, who needs what when.
Mm-hmm.
That alone is exhausting. It fuels the overwhelm, leads straight to burnout.
That's such a crucial piece. It's the constant mental juggling act, the planning that eats up so much energy. And like we said, while the term is mother syndrome, it really applies broadly. Anyone in that caregiver position trying to balance it all, work, family, health, home, it's a huge amount for anyone.
Right. So it's common, we see the factors piling up. Let's talk about what it actually looks like. The article cleverly uses that standard job burnout model,
Sure.
exhaustion, negativity, poor performance, and applies it right to parenting. Let's break those down.
Yeah, it maps really well. So the first one, lack of energy or exhaustion. For parents, this isn't just like needing a nap.
No.
It's that bone-deep mental weariness, feeling like you have zero reserves left. The article talks about sleep problems, feeling totally stretched thin, like adding one more thing will just make you snap, that feeling of having no bandwidth left.
Ugh. Yes, that dread when something else lands on your plate. Okay, then symptom 2, feelings of negativism or cynicism.
The article paints a picture of emotional ups and downs, sadness, anxiety, being really irritable, maybe having a shorter fuse than usual, getting angry easily, and even resentment building up towards the kids, your partner, the whole situation, plus that classic mom guilt or just general caregiver guilt.
Oh, that guilt. It's so corrosive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just adds another layer of misery. Okay, and the third sign, poor performance. How does that translate from the job world?
Well, in parenting, it's less about work output, maybe, though that can suffer too. The article describes it more like pulling away from your friends or family, losing interest in things you used to enjoy, constantly worrying if you're doing a good enough job as a parent, feeling like you're failing, maybe withdrawing socially, feeling like you're always dropping the ball.
Wow. Yeah, that's a heavy picture.
Yeah.
But recognizing those signs is so important, like you said, in ourselves or others. So the big question, what can we do about it? Dr. Sullivan's advice in the article starts with something simple but huge. Awareness. Just admitting, okay, I think I might be burning out is step 1.
Absolutely. You can't fix what you don't acknowledge. And her first practical tip is pretty counterintuitive for many. Learn to live with the mess.
Yes, I love this one. She talks about social media setting these insane expectations for perfect homes.
Totally unrealistic.
Right. And she basically gives permission to let the laundry pile up sometimes, to not stress about tidiness 24/7, to prioritize yourself over, say, dusting.
It's about shifting priorities and asking that key question she poses. Does this actually need doing right now? Or is taking a moment for yourself more critical? That's liberating. Her birthday party example was great. The perfect Pinterest party versus just going bowling. The kid has fun either way, right?
Yeah.
But one way saves the parent a ton of stress.
Exactly. Permission to choose the easier path sometimes without the guilt. Okay, next up, Quit playing the comparison game. We touched on this with social media.
Yeah, it's such a trap. We see these curated highlight reels and compare our messy reality. Dr. Sullivan says, ditch the superwoman ideal. It's okay to be good at some things and, well, just okay, or even struggling with others. That's normal. And she links guilt directly to judging ourselves by these external standards. Focus on what works for your family, she says. And that point about cereal or PB&J for dinner being fine.
So freeing.
Totally. It's about self-compassion. Okay, the next one is often tricky. Just say no.
Oof. Yeah. Hard for helpers and caregivers, we feel obligated.
Yeah.
But Dr. Sullivan points out, every yes to someone else can be a no to your own needs.
That's a powerful way to frame it.
It is. She encourages us to look at our commitments and be okay letting some things go, like maybe skip book club if you're swamped or pass on volunteering this time.
Right.
And maybe outsourcing chores if that's feasible. Her reminder is gold. No is a complete sentence.
Love that. Setting boundaries.
Okay.
Next is about physical and mental health. Breathe and move.
Super important. The article explains how chronic stress floods us with cortisol, which messes with memory, mood, even weight. And that mention of brain rot, Oxford's 2024 word of the year, linking too much phone time to feeling mentally foggy, that hit home. It really did. That constant scrolling definitely adds to the overwhelm. So, what are the antidotes? Dr. Sullivan suggests really simple things. Deep breathing. Just taking slow, deep breaths.
Grounding.
Exercise, even just a walk with a stroller, helps burn off stress. And meditation doesn't have to be complicated, she says. Even mindfulness while falling asleep counts.
And that's the beauty of it. They're accessible. They don't need tons of time or fancy gear, but they work. Okay, next strategy. Learn about conscious parenting. Sounds kind of complex, but the article simplifies it.
Yeah, it's basically being mindful as a parent, based on self-awareness, being intentional. And mindfulness, Dr. Sullivan explains, is just being present, not worrying about tomorrow's to-do list or yesterday's mistakes, but really being in the moment, like actually focusing on the bedtime story, not mentally planning breakfast.
Right. And the link she makes is key. Practicing this reduces overwhelm. When you're not lost in mental clutter, you have more space to actually be with your kids. It's a big shift.
Which flows right into the next absolutely crucial point. Take time for yourself. And I bet a lot of listeners are thinking, yeah, right, what time?
The eternal caregiver struggle. But Dr. Sullivan is firm. Skipping self-care makes burnout worse. That flight attendant analogy, put your own oxygen mask on first, it's spot on. You can't pour from an empty cup.
So true. Self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. The article even mentions there are like 17 tips for prioritizing self-care, showing even small things count when time feels impossible. Okay. Finally, she talks about when to reach out for help.
Yes, super important. Don't go it alone. She suggests getting the family involved, recognizing the signs together, sharing chores, having partners help with groceries or whatever. Break down that feeling of having to do it all yourself.
And she emphasizes real face-to-face connection with loved ones, not just social media updates. And crucially, if you're really struggling, consider professional help, a therapist who gets parents.
Exactly. Professionals like psychologists or social workers know the signs of stress, especially in women, and they can offer real tools and support. Asking for help is strength, not weakness.
Definitely. So wrapping this up, this deep dive into depleted mother syndrome, using the Cleveland Clinic's insights, really underscores how real and intense the pressure is for so many caregivers.
Yeah, and it's crucial to validate those feelings, the exhaustion, the worry, the overwhelm. They're real, you're not alone. And the strategies Dr. Sullivan offers, from saying no to prioritizing yourself, they really can help manage and overcome that burnout.
So thinking about everything we've discussed, the constant demands, the always-on feeling, here's something to chew on. What's one small no you could try saying this week just to carve out a tiny bit more space for yourself, like the expert suggested? It might feel small, but could be a start. Remember, looking after yourself isn't optional. It's absolutely necessary.